The elevator climbed 73 floors, and with each ascending number, my heart hammered harder against my ribs. I smoothed down my pencil skirt for the 100th time, clutching my portfolio like a lifeline. Sterling Industries. The name alone commanded respect in Manhattan's cutthroat business world. And Dominic Sterling, the man I was about to meet, was a legend whispered about in business schools and boardrooms alike. Youngest CEO to break into the Fortune 500. Ruthless, brilliant, devastatingly private. The elevator dinged, doors sliding open to reveal a sprawling executive floor that screamed power and money. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Manhattan skyline. Marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and every piece of furniture probably cost more than my yearly rent. Miss Chen, a sharp-looking woman in her 50s, approached, her expression professionally neutral. "I'm Margaret Hayes, Mr. Sterling's current executive assistant." "Follow me." Current. The word hung ominously in the air. I was here to replace her. We walked through the expansive space, my heels clicking against marble. Junior employees glanced up from their desks, their eyes following us with curiosity before quickly returning to their screens. The atmosphere was tense, focused. No one seemed to waste a single moment. "Mr. Sterling has exacting standards," Margaret said without looking back. His last 3 assistants didn't make it past the probationary period. One lasted 2 weeks. Another, 3 days. My stomach tightened. 3 days. She misspelled a client's name in an email. Margaret stopped before massive double doors in dark wood. "Mr. Sterling values precision, discretion, and absolute loyalty. He doesn't tolerate mistakes, excuses, or personal drama. You'll work longer hours than you've ever worked. Your life will revolve around his schedule. Your phone will never be off. Is that clear?" I lifted my chin. Crystal clear. I'd worked 3 jobs to put myself through college. I'd survived on ramen and 4 hours of sleep. I'd clawed my way up from nothing, and I wasn't about to be intimidated now, not when this job could change everything. Margaret's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "Good. He's ready for you." She knocked twice and opened the door. The office was a cathedral of corporate power, easily the size of my entire apartment. But I barely noticed the decor. My attention locked on the man standing by the windows, his back to us, phone pressed to his ear. "I don't care about their concerns, Richard. Buy the company or bury it. Those are the only 2 options I'm offering." His voice was deep, commanding, edged with steel. "You have until Friday." He ended the call and turned around. Time seemed to slow. Dominic Sterling was 34 according to my research, but he possessed the commanding presence of someone who'd lived twice that long. Tall, at least 6'3", with broad shoulders that filled out his custom charcoal suit perfectly. Dark hair styled with casual precision. A jawline sharp enough to cut glass. But it was his eyes that stopped me cold. Gray. Storm cloud gray. Intense and penetrating. As if he could see through every wall I'd ever built around myself. Those eyes swept over me in a single, comprehensive glance that felt oddly invasive, like he'd cataloged everything about me in 3 seconds flat. "Evelyn Chen." He didn't phrase it as a question. His gaze dropped to the file in his hand, my file. 26. Columbia graduate. Double major in business administration and international relations. Fluent in Mandarin and French. Currently executive assistant to Thomas Crane at Meridian Consulting. He looked up. "Why are you leaving?" I'd prepared for this question. I've learned everything I can in that position. I'm ready for a greater challenge. Greater challenge. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. "Is that what you think this is?" "I think working for you would be the most demanding professional experience of my career," I said evenly. "I also think I'm capable of exceeding your expectations." Something flickered in his eyes. Interest, maybe. Or amusement. Confident. He circled his desk, leaning against it, arms crossed. The posture should have seemed casual, but on him, it radiated controlled power. "Tell me, Miss Chen, what do you know about Sterling Industries? You've built a conglomerate spanning technology, real estate, and private equity. You've acquired 17 companies in the last 5 years, restructured them, and increased their value by an average of 40%. You're currently negotiating a merger with Hartwell Tech that would make Sterling Industries the third largest tech investor in North America. I paused. You also have a reputation for being extremely difficult to work for. Difficult. He repeated the word like he was tasting it. Is that the polite version of what people say? The impolite version uses more colorful language. This time, he did smile. A real one that transformed his entire face, making him shift from intimidating to absolutely devastating. At least you're honest. He pushed off the desk, moving closer. He was tall enough that I had to tilt my head back to maintain eye contact. This job will consume your life, Miss Chen. Early mornings, late nights, weekends, holidays. I'll need you available 24/7. Can you handle that? Yes. I don't tolerate incompetence or disloyalty. His eyes held mine. Everything you see, hear, or learn in this office stays confidential. That's not negotiable. I understand. Do you? He stepped closer, close enough that I caught the subtle scent of his cologne, something expensive and woodsy. Because the moment you walk through those doors as my assistant, your life becomes an extension of mine. My schedule dictates your schedule. My priorities become your priorities. There's no room for distraction, drama, or divided attention. His intensity should have been off-putting. Instead, I felt a strange thrill run down my spine. Mr. Sterling, I don't do drama. I don't get distracted. And when I commit to something, I give it everything I have. I held his gaze. Hire me, and you'll have my complete loyalty and dedication. I don't fail. The air between us seemed to thicken. He studied me for a long moment, those gray eyes searching for something. We'll see about that. He returned to his desk, picking up his phone. Margaret will handle your paperwork. You start Monday, 6 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. I blinked. I got the job. He glanced up, one eyebrow raised. Do you want it or not, Miss Chen? Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Sterling. Don't thank me yet. He was already looking at his computer screen, dismissing me. You haven't survived your first week. Monday morning, I arrived at 5:45 a.m. The executive floor was quiet, most of the lights still off. But Dominic's office glowed like a beacon. He was already there, of course. According to my research, the man rarely slept more than 5 hours a night. Margaret had left detailed instructions on my new desk, positioned directly outside Dominic's office. A strategic location. I'd see everyone who came and went, and he could summon me instantly. I just finished booting up my computer when his door opened. Miss Chen. Good, you're early. He handed me a tablet. Today's schedule. I have a board meeting at 8, lunch with the Hartwell CEO at noon, and a conference call with our Tokyo office at 4. Coffee, black, no sugar. I want the Hartwell contract on my desk by 7:30. And tell Davidson and legal I need those patent files before the board meeting. He rattled off instructions while I typed furiously on the tablet, my fingers flying. Questions, he asked. The Hartwell contract, Wilson draft, or the revised Martin version? He paused, studying me. You've done your homework. You're paying me to be prepared. Martin version. And Miss Chen. His eyes met mine. Keep up. The day that followed was a baptism by fire. Dominic Sterling didn't walk. He moved through the office like a force of nature, and I half-jogged to keep pace. He thought faster than anyone I'd ever met, jumped between topics without warning, and expected me to anticipate his needs before he voiced them. By noon, I'd fielded 37 emails, rescheduled 2 meetings, handled a crisis with a vendor in Singapore, and memorized his preferences for everything from coffee temperature, 185 degrees exactly, to how he liked his contracts formatted, single-spaced, Times New Roman, specific clauses highlighted. The lunch with Hartwell CEO was my first real test. You'll join us, Dominic said as we headed to the car. I froze. Sir, take notes. Observe. Michael Hartwell is smart, but he has tells when he's bluffing. He slid into the back of the Blacktown car, and I followed. This merger depends on getting the terms right. The restaurant was the kind of place where there were no prices on the menu. If you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Dominic commanded the table effortlessly, discussing market projections and synergy opportunities while I sat slightly behind him, tablet in hand, recording everything. But I also watched, and I saw what Dominic meant. Hartwell touched his watch whenever he was uncomfortable with a number. A tell. When Hartwell proposed a 70-30 split in their favor, his fingers went to his watch. I leaned forward, whispering near Dominic's ear. He's bluffing. He'll take 65. Dominic didn't react outwardly, but I felt him register my words. 65, 35, he countered smoothly. And that's generous, Michael. Hartwell hesitated, then nodded. Done. As we left the restaurant, Dominic held the car door open for me. Good catch in there. Warmth ballooned in my chest. Thank you, sir. Don't let it go to your head, Miss Chen. That was basic observation. But there was approval in his eyes. Though you're doing better than I expected. Better than your last 3 assistants? The bar was low. He almost smiled. You might actually make it to week 2. 3 weeks in, I'd found my rhythm. I arrived before Dominic and left after him. I knew his schedule better than my own, could predict what he'd need before meetings, and had memorized the names and preferences of every important client and business associate. I'd even learned to read his moods, the subtle tightening of his jaw when he was frustrated, the way his focus sharpened when a deal excited him. Miss Chun, I need the projections for the Amsterdam project. Already on your desk, sir. I also flagged the discrepancy in their third-quarter numbers. He glanced at me. Discrepancy? Their reported expenses don't match the invoices we received. I've highlighted the inconsistencies. Dominic picked up the report, scanning it. His expression shifted, impressed. This would have cost us millions if we'd missed it. Good work. The praise shouldn't have meant so much. But it did. Just doing my job, Mr. Sterling. You're doing more than that. He set down the report, his eyes meeting mine. You're the best assistant I've ever had. My heart skipped. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me. You earned it. He paused. Then, there's a charity gala Friday night. I need you there. Of course. What time should I arrive? 6. And Miss Chun. His gaze traveled over me briefly. Wear something elegant. You'll be representing Sterling Industries. That evening, I used part of my first paycheck on a dress I definitely couldn't afford. A floor-length navy gown that was sophisticated without being ostentatious. Friday night, I met Dominic at the venue, a historic hotel ballroom dripping with chandeliers and old money. When he saw me, he stopped mid-stride. His eyes swept over me, slower this time, and something in his expression shifted. Darkened. Miss Chun. His voice was lower. You look appropriate. Appropriate. Such a careful, controlled word. But the way he looked at me wasn't careful at all. Thank you, sir. I clutched my small purse tighter, suddenly hyper-aware of his proximity as he offered his arm. Stay close tonight. I'll need you to remember names and details. His hand rested briefly on the small of my back as he guided me inside, the touch burning through the thin fabric of my dress. The gala was a parade of Manhattan's elite. Old money, new money, and everyone trying to impress everyone else. Dominic navigated it effortlessly, and I remained a half-step behind, the perfect professional shadow, until Victoria Ashford appeared. She was beautiful in that effortless way wealthy women often are, blonde, statuesque, wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my car. And the way she touched Dominic's arm was possessive. Dominic, darling, I've been looking for you everywhere. Her eyes barely flickered to me. Aren't you going to introduce your companion? My executive assistant, Evelyn Chen. Dominic's tone was polite but cool. Miss Chen, Victoria Ashford. Oh, Victoria's smile didn't reach her eyes. How lovely. Dominic goes through assistants so quickly, I can barely keep track. The dismissal was clear. I was temporary. Replaceable. If you'll excuse me, I said smoothly. I'll give you privacy. I escaped to the terrace, needing air. The night was cool, the city glittering below. I shouldn't have felt stung by Victoria's comment. She was right. I was just an employee. Miss Chun. I turned. Dominic stood in the doorway, backlit by the ballroom's golden light. Is everything all right, sir? He stepped onto the terrace, closing the distance between us. You left rather abruptly. I thought you'd want privacy with Miss Ashford. Victoria is a business acquaintance. Nothing more. His eyes held mine. You don't need to make yourself scarce on her account. Understood. He moved closer, near enough that I could see the fine details of his face, the slight shadow of stubble, the silver flecks in his gray eyes. You've been Invaluable these past weeks, Evelyn. He'd never used my first name before. It sounded different in his voice. Intimate. I'm just doing my job, Mr. Sterling. Dominic. The word hung between us. When we're alone, call me Dominic. My pulse jumped. This felt like crossing a line, shifting from professional to something else. That wouldn't be appropriate, sir. Appropriate. He repeated the word from earlier, a slight smile playing at his lips. You looked appropriate tonight. Do you know what I actually thought when I saw you? I couldn't breathe. What? He reached out, his fingers barely brushing my cheek. A feather-light touch that sent electricity racing through me. That every man in that ballroom would be looking at you. And that I wanted to be the only one who did. Oh God. Mr. Sterling. Dominic. He corrected, his voice rough. We can't. My professional instincts warred with the heat flooding my veins. Can't we? He stepped back, but his eyes never left mine. You're right. Forgive me. That was inappropriate. He turned to leave, and I should have let him. Should have maintained the boundary. Dominic. He stopped, his shoulders tensing. For the record, I said quietly, I wanted you to be the only one looking too. The air between us ignited. He crossed the distance in 2 strides, his hand cupping my face, thumb tracing my cheekbone. Tell me to stop. I can't. Tell me this is a mistake. It probably is. Then why does it feel inevitable? His forehead rested against mine, his breath warm on my lips. From the moment you walked into my office, Evelyn. From that first day. Dominic. He kissed me. The world fell away. The gala, the city, every reason this was wrong. There was only his mouth on mine, demanding and desperate, his hand tangling in my hair, my fingers clutching his jacket as I kissed him back with equal hunger. When we finally broke apart, we were both breathing hard. This complicates everything, I whispered. I know. His thumb brushed my swollen lips. I don't care. I could lose my job. You won't. His eyes burned into mine with an intensity that stole my breath. Because you're mine now, Evelyn. Not just my assistant. Mine. Monday morning arrived with the weight of what had happened Friday night pressing down on me. I'd spent the entire weekend replaying that kiss, Dominic's words echoing in my mind. You're mine now. I arrived at 5:45 a.m. as usual, my stomach in knots. How were we supposed to act now? What had changed? Everything felt different and terrifyingly uncertain. Dominic was already in his office, as always. Through the glass walls, I could see him on a call, his back to me. My hands trembled slightly as I set down my bag. The call ended. He turned, and our eyes met through the glass. My breath caught. He stood, walked to his door, and opened it. Miss Chen. My office, please. The formality was back. Miss Chen. Not Evelyn. I grabbed my tablet and entered, closing the door behind me. The click of the latch felt ominous. Good morning, sir. Dominic stood by his desk, his expression unreadable. We need to establish ground rules. My heart sank. Of course. He regretted it. This was where he'd tell me Friday was a mistake, that we needed to maintain professional boundaries, that at the office, nothing changes publicly, he continued. You're my assistant. I'm your boss. Professional at all times when anyone else is present. I understand. But privately. He moved closer, his hand reaching up to cup my face, thumb stroking my cheek with unexpected tenderness. Privately, you're mine. No more walls between us. No more pretending I don't think about you every waking moment. Relief and desire flooded through me in equal measure. Dominic, I want you, Evelyn. Not just physically, though God knows I want that too. His eyes searched mine. I want all of you. Your thoughts, your time, your attention. Everything. The intensity should have scared me. Instead, it ignited something deep inside. I want that too, I whispered. He kissed me then, slower than Friday night, but no less consuming. When he pulled back, his breathing was ragged. We keep this between us. The board, the media, they can't know. Not yet. I know. I won't tell anyone. Good. His hand slid down to my waist, possessive. Because I don't share, Evelyn. What's mine stays mine. The words should have sounded controlling. But the way he looked at me, like I was precious, essential, made them feel like a promise instead of a threat. A knock on the door made us spring apart. Mr. Sterling? Margaret's voice came through. Your 8 o'clock is here. One moment. Dominic's voice was perfectly composed. He adjusted his tie, his CEO mask sliding back into place. Then he leaned close, his lips brushing my ear. Dinner tonight. My place. 8 o'clock. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir, I managed. His eyes darkened at the formal address, a hint of a smile playing at his lips. Good girl. I barely survived the day. Every glance Dominic sent my way carried hidden meaning. Every Miss Chun felt like a secret. When his hand brushed mine as I handed him a file, electricity shot through me. The professional facade was torture when all I wanted was to touch him, kiss him, be close to him. At 7:30 p.m., most of the office had cleared out. Dominic appeared at my desk. Ready? I saved my work, grabbed my purse. Yes. His driver took us to a building in Tribeca, luxury condos with a doorman who greeted Dominic by name. The elevator required a key for the penthouse level. Of course, Dominic lived in a penthouse. The doors opened directly into his apartment, and I tried not to gape. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Hudson River. Modern furniture in blacks and grays, expensive art on the walls, everything sleek and sophisticated and utterly intimidating. Wine. Dominic shrugged off his jacket, loosening his tie. Please. He poured 2 glasses of red, handed me one. You're nervous. A little. Don't be. He guided me to the couch, sitting close enough that our thighs touched. I just want to be with you. Talk to you without worrying who's watching. I relaxed slightly. What do you want to talk about? Everything. I know your resume, your credentials, but I don't know you. His fingers traced patterns on my knee. Tell me something real. Something you've never told anyone else. I took a sip of wine, considering. I was terrified at my interview with you. That's not a secret. You hid it well, but I could see it. Could you see that I thought you were the most intimidating and attractive man I'd ever met? His expression shifted, heated. No, I missed that. I almost turned around in the elevator. Almost convinced myself I wasn't qualified enough, that I'd just embarrass myself. I met his eyes. But I needed this job. Not just for my career. I have student loans, my mother's medical bills. I couldn't afford to let fear stop me. Something flickered in Dominic's face. Your mother? Breast cancer. She's in remission now, but the treatments nearly bankrupted us. I hadn't meant to reveal so much. That's why I work so hard. Why I can't afford to fail. Dominic set down his wine glass, both hands cupping my face. You won't fail. I won't let you. You can't promise that. Yes, I can. His intensity was back, that laser focus that made me feel like the only person in the world. I take care of what's mine, Evelyn. Your mother's bills, consider them handled. I jerked back. What? No. Dominic, I can't. You can. You will. His voice was firm. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me do this. That's not why I told you. I don't want your money. I know that. Which is exactly why I want to give it to you. He pulled me closer. Let me take care of you. Please. The plea undid me. This powerful, commanding man saying please. I'll think about it, I whispered. Fair enough. He kissed my forehead, then my nose, then finally my lips, soft and sweet. Now, I ordered dinner from that Italian place you mentioned loving. It should be here in 20 minutes. I blinked. How did you know I love Italian? You had a Carbone takeout menu in your desk drawer. You've mentioned pasta 3 times in casual conversation. And last week, you hummed along to Andrea Bocelli in the elevator. A small smile. I pay attention, Evelyn. My heart melted a little. You really are obsessed with me. Completely. He didn't look remotely apologetic. Is that a problem? I don't know yet, I said honestly. This is all happening so fast. We can slow down. No. I kissed him, cutting off the words. I don't want to slow down. I want this. Want you. It just feels intense. Yes. Good. Because I don't do anything halfway, Evelyn. Especially not this. His hand tangled in my hair. I want everything with you. And I'm not a patient man. 2 months into our relationship, if you could call it that, I'd learned several things about Dominic Sterling. 1. He was insatiable. Stolen kisses in his office after hours. His hands on me in the car. Late nights at his penthouse where we talked for hours before falling into bed together. 2. He was possessive. When a junior executive flirted with me at the Christmas party, Dominic's hand had immediately gone to my lower back, a clear territorial gesture. Later that night, he'd marked my skin with his mouth, whispering mine like a prayer. 3. He was generous to the point of overwhelming. He'd paid off my mother's medical bills despite my protests, started sending a car for me every morning, left expensive gifts on my desk, a new laptop, designer heels, a bracelet that cost more than my monthly rent. 4. He was falling for me, and I was falling right back. But keeping our relationship secret was becoming harder. "Mr. Sterling, your mother is online too," I said one afternoon, standing in his office doorway. Dominic looked up from his computer, irritation flashing across his face. "Tell her I'm in a meeting. I already told her that twice this week," she said, and I quote, "Tell my son if he doesn't pick up, I'll show up at his office." He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. "Fine. Put her through." Then, as I turned to leave, "Stay." I hesitated, but closed the door and stood to the side as he answered, "Hello, Mother." His tone was carefully polite. "What can I do for you?" I couldn't hear the other side, but Dominic's expression grew increasingly tense. "I've already told you. I'm not bringing anyone to the gala. It's not your concern whether I'm seeing someone." "Mother," he closed his eyes. "Fine. Yes. I'll be there. Alone. Goodbye." He hung up, jaw tight. "Everything okay?" I asked softly. "My mother is convinced I'm going to die alone because I won't settle down and give her grandchildren." He stood, moving toward me. "She's hosting a charity gala next month. Wants me to bring a date. Preferably someone marriage material." Something twisted in my chest. "Are you going to take someone?" "No." His arms wrapped around me. "Because the only woman I want to take, I can't be seen with publicly yet." Yet. He pulled back enough to look at me. "I won't hide you forever, Evelyn. Once the Hartwell merger is finalized, once some of the current board politics settle, I'm going to tell people about us. That could damage your reputation. Dating your secretary." "Assistant," he corrected. "And I don't give a damn what people think. Your board members might. Then I'll deal with them." His hand cupped my face. "You're not a secret because I'm ashamed, Evelyn. You're a secret because I'm protecting you from the scrutiny, the gossip, the media circus. But I won't hide what we have indefinitely. I can't." I kissed him, pouring every feeling I couldn't say into it. When we broke apart, his phone was buzzing again. He glanced at it, frowned. "I have to take this. Tokyo office." "Of course." I straightened my clothes, smoothed my hair. Back to professional. As I reached the door, his voice stopped me. "Evelyn." "Yes." "I love you." The world stopped. We'd been together for 2 months. 2 secret, intense, overwhelming months. And I'd felt it growing between us. This thing that was more than attraction, more than obsession. But hearing him say it made it real. "Dominic, you don't have to say it back. Not until you're ready." He smiled, soft and genuine. "I just needed you to know." I crossed back to him, kissed him hard. "I love you too. I think I have since that first interview." His answering smile was brilliant. "Yeah. Yeah." His phone buzzed again, insistent. "Go," I said. "Take your call. Tonight. Come over tonight. I'll be there." The Hartwell merger was finalized on a Tuesday. Dominic was electric with triumph, the deal representing months of negotiation and strategy. The entire office celebrated with champagne at 4 p.m., a rare moment of loosened professionalism. To Dominic Sterling, Michael Hartwell raised his glass. "The toughest negotiator I've ever faced, and now, hopefully, a valued partner." Everyone drank. Dominic's eyes found mine across the room, heated with promise. Tonight, we'd celebrate properly, privately. But as the crowd dispersed, I noticed a man I didn't recognize talking to Dominic. Late 50s, expensive suit, calculating eyes. "Who's that?" I asked Margaret, who was packing up her desk nearby. She glanced over. "James Rothschild. Board member. Old money, older grudges." Her expression was troubled. "He's been trying to undermine Dominic for years. Be careful around him." Before I could ask what she meant, Rothschild approached my desk. "Miss Chen, is it?" His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Yes. Can I help you with something, Mr. Rothschild?" "Just wanted to introduce myself. I don't believe we've met, though I've certainly heard about you." His gaze traveled over me assessingly. Dominic speaks very highly of your work. That's kind of him. He's quite devoted to you, isn't he? Unusual, given his history with assistants. Rothschild leaned against my desk, too close. Tell me, how long have you been with Sterling Industries? 4 months. 4 months, and already indispensable. Impressive. Something in his tone set off alarm bells. You must be very talented. The insinuation was clear. My hands clenched under the desk. I work very hard, Mr. Rothschild. I'm sure you do. He straightened. Well, Miss Chen, I'm sure we'll be seeing more of each other. Dominic seems to take you everywhere these days. He walked away, leaving me with a sick feeling in my stomach. That night at Dominic's penthouse, I told him about the encounter. His expression darkened dangerously. What exactly did he say? It wasn't what he said, it was how he said it. Like he was implying. I trailed off. That you're sleeping with me to advance your career. Dominic's voice was ice. That bastard. Dominic. He's fishing, looking for leverage. He paced, agitated. Rothschild has wanted my position for years. If he even suspects we're together, he'll use it against us. Maybe we should cool things off. Publicly, I mean. Be more careful. No. He stopped pacing, his eyes fierce. I'm not giving you up. Not for Rothschild, not for the board, not for anyone. I'm not asking you to give me up. Just be more discreet. I'm tired of being discreet. He pulled me close, almost desperate. I want to take you to dinner without hiding in private restaurants. Want to introduce you to my family, my friends. Want everyone to know you're mine. And we will. Just not yet. Please, Dominic. Let's be smart about this. He rested his forehead against mine. You're right. I know you're right. But I hate it. I know. I hate it too. Promise me something. His hands framed my face. Promise me you won't let people like Rothschild make you doubt yourself. Doubt us. I promise. And promise you'll tell me if anyone makes you uncomfortable. Anyone. I will. He kissed me, and I tried to lose myself in it. But Rothschild's calculating eyes stayed with me. The next morning, I arrived to find a bouquet of red roses on my desk. 24, stunning and extravagant. My heart warmed, until I saw they weren't from Dominic. The card read, for the invaluable Miss Chen. Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed. J.R. James Rothschild. I was staring at the flowers when Dominic emerged from his office. He saw the bouquet, his expression immediately shuddering. Who sent those? I wordlessly handed him the card. His jaw clenched. He's playing games. What do I do? Nothing. Don't acknowledge them. He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. But I'm handling this. Dominic, don't do anything rash. I'm not. He looked up, his eyes hard. But Rothschild needs to understand that you're off limits. Completely. An hour later, the roses were gone, replaced by a simple email to the entire executive team reminding everyone of the company's strict policy on inappropriate workplace gifts and harassment. Rothschild's response came that afternoon, a request for a private meeting with Dominic. I had a very bad feeling about what was coming. The meeting with Rothschild lasted 45 minutes. I tried to focus on work, but my eyes kept drifting to Dominic's office where I could see the two men through the glass walls. Dominic's posture was rigid, controlled. Rothschild gestured animatedly, his expression smug. When the door finally opened, Rothschild emerged first, pausing at my desk with that same calculating smile. Miss Chen, always a pleasure. He leaned in slightly. Take care of yourself. And of Dominic. He's going to need all the support he can get in the coming weeks. The threat was barely veiled. I kept my expression neutral. Have a good day, Mr. Rothschild. He left, and I immediately went to Dominic's office. He stood by the windows, hands in his pockets, shoulders tense. What did he want? To make his position clear. Dominic's voice was flat. He knows about us. My blood went cold. How? He didn't say. But he has photos. Us leaving my building together. Getting into the same car. At that restaurant in Brooklyn last week. He turned to face me, his expression grim. He's been having us followed. Oh God. I sank into a chair. What does he want? My resignation. Or at least, my compliance. Dominic's jaw tightened. He's proposing a deal. I support his initiatives at the next board meeting, essentially giving him control of several key decisions. And he keeps our relationship quiet. And if you don't, he leaks everything. to the board, to the media, paints you as someone who slept her way into a position of influence, and me as a CEO who can't keep his personal life separate from business. Shame and anger warred inside me. This is my fault. I should have been more careful. No. Dominic crossed to me, kneeling in front of my chair, taking my hands. This is Rothschild being a manipulative bastard. None of this is your fault. But if we hadn't, then I wouldn't have the best thing that's ever happened to me. His eyes were fierce. I won't let him make you feel ashamed of what we have. What are you going to do? He stood, pulling me up with him. I'm going to call his bluff. Dominic, no. Your career. We'll survive. I built this company from nothing. The board knows my value. He cupped my face. But I won't be blackmailed. And I won't let anyone make you a target. What if the board sides with him? Then I'll deal with it. But I'm not hiding you anymore, Evelyn. I'm done pretending you're just my assistant when you're so much more than that. Fear and love twisted together in my chest. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed me softly. I'm going to schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. I'm going to tell them about us myself, before Rothschild can control the narrative. Tomorrow. My voice cracked. That's so soon. The longer we wait, the more power we give him. His thumb stroked my cheek. I know this is terrifying, but we face it together. Okay. I nodded, even though my heart was racing. Okay. Go home. Get some rest. I have calls to make. I should stay, help you prepare. Evelyn. He silenced me with a kiss. I need you sharp tomorrow. Go home. I'll call you later. Reluctantly, I gathered my things. At the door, I looked back. Dominic was already on the phone, his voice commanding and sure. I wished I felt even half as confident. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining tomorrow's board meeting, the accusations, the judgment, the potential fallout. By 2 a.m., I was pacing my apartment, too anxious to even lie down. My phone rang. Dominic, you're awake, he said when I answered. Can't sleep. Me either. I heard the clink of glass. He was drinking. Come over. Dominic, it's 2 in the morning. Please. The single word, rough with need, undid me. I'll be there in 20 minutes. His driver was already waiting downstairs. Of course he was. Dominic had probably sent him the moment he decided to call. When I arrived at the penthouse, Dominic was standing by the windows in pajama pants and nothing else, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked exhausted and beautiful and troubled. Hey, I said softly. He set down his glass and crossed to me, pulling me into his arms. We stood like that for a long moment, just holding each other. I'm scared, I finally admitted. I know. So am I. That surprised me. You are. Terrified. He pulled back to look at me. Not of losing my job. Not of what the board thinks. But of losing you. Of this being too much, too public, too soon. You won't lose me. I touched his face. Whatever happens tomorrow, we're in this together. Promise. Promise. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, and I kissed him back with everything I had. We made love on the couch, then later in his bed, clinging to each other like the world was ending. Maybe, in a way, it was. Afterward, wrapped in his arms, I finally felt calm enough to sleep. I love you. Dominic whispered into my hair. I love you too. No matter what happens tomorrow, remember that. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. I arrived at the office at my usual time, but everything felt different. People glanced at me curiously. Word had spread that something big was happening. Margaret gave me a sympathetic look as I passed her desk. Dominic was already in the conference room, reviewing notes. He looked up when I entered. How are you holding up? He asked. I'm okay. You. Better now that you're here. He stood, walking to where I stood by the door. We were visible to anyone who passed by, but he didn't seem to care anymore. I've prepared a statement. I'm going to tell them about us. Explain that our relationship in no way compromises your position or my judgment, and make it clear that any action Rothschild takes will be seen as retaliation. What if they ask me to resign? Then I resign too. Dominic. Non-negotiable, Evelyn. We're a package deal now. His eyes were steady, sure. Are you ready for this? Before I could answer, the first board member arrived. Then another. Within minutes, the room was filled with 12 powerful people, all looking at Dominic expectantly. Rothschild was the last to arrive, his expression smug. Dominic stood at the head of the table, commanding the room effortlessly. Thank you all for coming on short notice. I've called this meeting to address a situation before it becomes a problem. He looked directly at Rothschild. It's come to my attention that my personal life has become a topic of interest for some members of this board. So let me address it directly and transparently. My heart hammered. For the past 4 months, I've been in a relationship with my executive assistant, Evelyn Chen. Murmurs rippled through the room. Several heads turned to look at me, standing by the wall with my tablet. This relationship began after she was hired and was not a factor in her employment. Miss Chen earned her position through exceptional qualifications and performance. She's the most competent assistant I've ever had, and our personal relationship has not compromised her professional integrity or my judgment. Rothschild leaned forward. That's a lovely sentiment, Dominic. But it doesn't change the optics. The CEO sleeping with his secretary. Executive assistant, I corrected coldly. Rothschild's eyes narrowed. Semantics. No, Dominic said sharply. Respect. Something you seem to lack, James. I'm simply concerned about the company's reputation. You're concerned about leverage. Dominic's voice cut like a blade. You've been having Miss Chun and me followed. You've collected photos, used them to attempt blackmail, and now you're pretending to care about the company's reputation when we all know you just want control. Shocked silence filled the room. That's a serious accusation, Rothschild said, his face reddening. It's the truth. Dominic pulled out his phone, tapping the screen. A moment later, the conference room's display screen lit up with an email thread. These are communications between you and a private investigation firm. I had my legal team subpoena them this morning. Rothschild went pale. You've been surveilling a company employee, Dominic continued. That's not only unethical, it's illegal. And using that information to attempt to manipulate corporate decisions? That's grounds for removal from this board. Another board member, Catherine Mills, a sharp woman in her 60s, spoke up. James, is this true? Rothschild sputtered. I was acting in the company's best interests. By hiring private investigators to stalk our CEO? Catherine's voice was ice. That's not protecting the company. That's a vendetta. Other board members were nodding, looking at Rothschild with disgust. I moved to have James Rothschild removed from the board, effective immediately, Catherine said. Seconded. Another member added quickly. All in favor. Every hand went up, except Rothschild's. This is ridiculous. Rothschild stood, his face purple with rage. You're all making a mistake. The mistake was yours, James. Dominic's voice was quiet, deadly. Security will escort you out. You're no longer welcome in this building. 2 security guards appeared at the door. Dominic had clearly planned for this. Rothschild looked around the room, finding no allies, then stormed out. When the door closed behind him, the tension broke. Well, Catherine said dryly. That was dramatic. A few people chuckled nervously. Now, back to the actual issue, Catherine continued, looking at Dominic. Your relationship with Miss Chun. I assume you've consulted with HR and legal about potential conflicts of interest? I have. We've established protocols to ensure complete transparency. Miss Chen reports to me, but her performance reviews will be conducted by an independent third party. Any promotions or raises will be approved by the board, and we're both willing to sign additional disclosure agreements if needed. Catherine nodded slowly. Miss Chen, do you have anything you'd like to add? All eyes turned to me. My throat went dry, but I stepped forward. I understand this situation is unusual, but I want to be clear. I earned this job. I work harder than anyone in this building, and I've never asked for or received special treatment because of my relationship with Mr. Sterling. I met Catherine's eyes. I love my job. I love this company. And yes, I love Dominic. But those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Silence. Then Catherine smiled. No, they don't. She looked around the table. I don't see any issue here, provided the proper safeguards are in place. Anyone disagree? No one spoke up. Then I suggest we move on to actual company business, Catherine said. Dominic, excellent work on the Hartwell merger, by the way. Just like that, it was over. After the meeting, Dominic and I stood alone in his office. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving me shaky and exhausted. Did that really just happen? I asked. It did. Dominic pulled me into his arms. You were incredible in there. So were you. How did you get those emails from Rothschild? I have very good lawyers. And I suspected he was up to something, so I had them start investigating him weeks ago. He kissed my forehead. I wasn't going to let him hurt you. You could have lost everything. No, I could have lost you. Everything else is replaceable. His eyes met mine. You're not. My phone buzzed. Then his. Then both our phones started ringing simultaneously. What? I checked my screen. 12 missed calls. 20 texts. Dominic looked at his phone, his expression darkening. Rothschild went to the press. My stomach dropped. What? He showed me his screen. A news alert. Sterling Industries CEO in relationship with assistant. Scandal or love story. Oh God. It's okay. Dominic was already dialing. I have a PR team for this. We'll get ahead of it. The next 2 hours were a blur. PR specialists. Lawyers. Phone calls with journalists. A carefully worded statement confirming our relationship and emphasizing that all proper protocols had been followed. By noon, the story had exploded across business media. Some outlets were sympathetic, calling it a modern romance. Others were critical, questioning my qualifications and Dominic's judgment. I tried not to read the comments. I failed. Gold digger. Slept her way to the top. He'll get bored of her in 6 months. Stop reading those. Dominic took my phone gently from my hands. They don't know you. They don't know us. Some of them are right, though. I did benefit from our relationship. You benefited from being exceptional at your job. His voice was firm. Yes, I love you. But I'd never compromise this company for anyone. You earned every opportunity you've gotten. Margaret appeared in the doorway. Mr. Sterling, your mother is on line 1. She sounds concerned. Dominic closed his eyes. Of course she is. Want me to leave? I asked. No. Stay. He picked up the phone, putting it on speaker. Hello, Mother. Dominic Alexander Sterling. His mother's voice was sharp, cultured, and furious. I had to learn about your relationship from page 6. Page 6. Mother. You couldn't tell your own mother you were seeing someone? For 4 months. It was complicated. Bring her to dinner. Tonight. I want to meet this woman who finally captured my impossible son's attention. Dominic and I exchanged glances. Mother, it's been a long day. Tonight, Dominic. 7 o'clock. Don't be late. She hung up. Dominic sighed. Well, ready to meet my family. Tonight. My voice came out slightly strangled. She won't take no for an answer. Trust me, I've tried. He pulled me close. I know this is a lot. The board meeting, the media, and now my mother. It's okay. I took a deep breath. We're in this together, right? Always. Then I can handle dinner with your mother. I paused. How terrifying is she exactly? On a scale of 1 to 10? 12. But he was smiling. Don't worry. She's going to love you. How do you know? Because I love you. And despite being terrifying, my mother wants me to be happy. He kissed me softly. You make me happy, Evelyn. Happier than I've ever been. You make me happy too. Good. Now go home, get some rest, and wear something nice for dinner. My mother appreciates effort. What kind of nice? Cocktail dress? Business casual? Ball gown? Somewhere between cocktail dress and meeting the queen. He laughed at my expression. You'll be fine. I promise. That evening, Dominic picked me up at 6:30. I changed outfits 4 times before settling on a burgundy wrap dress. Elegant, but not trying too hard. You look beautiful, Dominic said when I got in the car. I'm terrified. I know, but I'll be right there with you. He took my hand. And Evelyn. My mother might be intimidating, but she raised me. You've already survived that. You can survive anything. The Sterling family estate was in Connecticut, a sprawling property that looked like it belonged in a period drama. The main house was Georgian style, with perfectly manicured gardens and actual topiaries. You grew up here? I asked, trying not to gape. Unfortunately, yes. I moved to the city the moment I turned 18 and never looked back. A butler, an actual butler, opened the door. Good evening, Mr. Sterling. Miss Chen. Mrs. Sterling is waiting in the drawing room. Of course there was a drawing room. We walked through a marble foyer with a crystal chandelier and oil paintings of stern-looking ancestors. I felt completely out of my depth. Then we entered the drawing room, and I met Eleanor Sterling. She was in her early 60s, elegant in a cashmere twin set and pearls, with Dominic's same gray eyes and sharp cheekbones. She stood as we entered, her gaze sweeping over me with the same comprehensive assessment her son had given me at my interview. "Mother," Dominic said, "this is Evelyn Chen." "Evelyn, my mother, Eleanor Sterling." "Mrs. Sterling, it's a pleasure to meet you." I extended my hand. She took it, her grip firm. "Miss Chen, please sit." We sat on a cream-colored sofa that probably cost more than my car. Eleanor sat across from us, her posture perfect. "So," she said, "you're the woman who's captured my son's heart." "Ah, yes, ma'am. Tell me about yourself. And please, don't recite your resume. Dominic has already told me you're brilliant and accomplished. I want to know who you are." I glanced at Dominic. He gave me an encouraging nod. "I grew up in Queens," I began. "My parents immigrated from China before I was born. My father worked construction, my mother was a seamstress. They sacrificed everything to give me opportunities they never had." I met Eleanor's eyes. "I worked 3 jobs to pay for college. I know what it's like to struggle, to fight for every opportunity. That's made me who I am." Eleanor studied me for a long moment. "And my son? What made you fall for him?" "Honestly, he terrified me at first. I felt Dominic's hand tighten on mine. But then I saw past the intimidating exterior. I saw someone brilliant and driven, yes, but also someone lonely. Someone who needed someone to see him, really see him, not just the CEO or the Sterling name." I smiled softly. "He makes me want to be better, work harder, dream bigger. And he looks at me like I'm the most important person in the world." "Because you are," Dominic said quietly. Eleanor's stern expression finally cracked into a smile. "Well, that's the most romantic thing I've ever heard my son say." She stood. "Come, dinner is ready. And Miss Chun." "Yes. Call me Eleanor. We're family now." As we walked to the dining room, Dominic leaned close. "Told you she'd love you. That was terrifying. Wait until you meet my sister. She's worse." I stopped walking. "You have a sister?" "2, actually. And a brother. They'll be here for dessert." "Dominic Sterling, you are absolutely sleeping on the couch tonight." He laughed, the sound rich and genuine. "And despite everything, the media storm, the board meeting, the family dinner," I laughed too. "We were going to be okay." If Eleanor Sterling was a 12 on the intimidation scale, her daughters were a solid 15. "So you're the reason Dominic missed the Hamilton Trust meeting last month," Alexandra Sterling said, swirling her champagne. She was 32, a corporate lawyer with her father's sharp jaw and her mother's cutting tongue. "He said he had a conflict. I assume that was you." "Alex," Dominic warned. "What?" "I'm simply establishing timelines." Alexandra smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I'm protective of my brother, Miss Chun. He has a habit of losing perspective when he's fixated on something. Or someone," added Sebastian, the youngest Sterling at 28. He was the only one who smiled genuinely at me, his eyes crinkling in a way that reminded me of Dominic when he was actually happy. "Leave them alone, Alex. Dominic's allowed to have a life outside of boardrooms. Not when his life affects stock prices." Alexandra set down her glass. "The shares dropped 2% today. Do you know why? Because investors are questioning Dominic's judgment. Dating an employee looks impulsive, reckless." The words hit like a slap. I straightened my spine. "I assure you, Miss Sterling, your brother is neither impulsive nor reckless. And my qualifications haven't changed since yesterday." "Your qualifications aren't the issue. Your judgment is." Alexandra leaned forward. "You slept with your boss. That demonstrates either a lack of professional boundaries or a calculated approach to career advancement. Which is it?" "Alexandra." Eleanor's voice cracked like a whip. "That is quite enough." But I held up a hand. "It's all right, Eleanor. Your daughter has a right to ask." I met Alexandra's gaze steadily. It was neither. It was a connection that grew over months of working together. Yes, we crossed a line that shouldn't have been crossed, but we faced the consequences together, transparently. If that makes me unprofessional in your eyes, so be it. But I won't apologize for loving your brother." Silence filled the drawing room. Then Sebastian laughed, a bright, surprised sound. "Oh, I like her. Dominic, keep this one." Alexandra's expression softened incrementally. "You're either very brave or very foolish, speaking to me that way." "She's brave," Dominic said, his hand finding mine. She's the bravest person I know. We'll see. Alexandra stood. Walk with me, Miss Chen. Let's get to know each other properly. The garden was cold, October air biting through my dress. Alexandra led me to a stone bench, far enough from the house for privacy. Listen carefully, she said, her voice dropping the performative hostility. I wasn't trying to embarrass you in there. I was testing you. Dominic is fragile, despite what he projects. Our father was a monster, controlled everything, destroyed what he couldn't control. Dominic built Sterling Industries to prove he wasn't like him, but he has the same capacity for obsession, the same intensity. I thought of Dominic's words. What's mine stays mine. I know he's intense, I said carefully. You don't know the half of it. Alexandra looked at the house, where warm light spilled from the windows. When he loves completely, consumptively. It can be overwhelming, stifling. My mother stayed with my father until the day he died because she was addicted to that intensity, even when it hurt her. Are you warning me away from him? I'm warning you to be careful. If you stay, you need to be strong enough to maintain your boundaries. Because Dominic won't. He'll absorb you into his world until you don't know where you end and he begins. She turned to me, her expression serious. Can you handle that? Can you be yourself while being his everything? I thought of the past months, the way Dominic anticipated my needs, the way he'd taken over my mother's bills, the possessive way he watched me. It was overwhelming, but it was also exhilarating. I can handle it, I said, because I choose him. Not just the penthouse and the power, but the man. The obsession goes both ways, Alexandra. I don't want to tame him. I just want to love him. Alexandra studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Good answer. Welcome to the family, Evelyn. God help you. The media frenzy didn't die down after the first week. It intensified. Paparazzi camped outside my apartment building. My face was splashed across tabloids with headlines ranging from CEO's Cinderella to the woman who tamed the beast. I couldn't walk into a coffee shop without someone taking my picture. Dominic wanted me to move into the penthouse immediately. It's safer, he insisted, pacing his office like a caged predator. Security is better there. I can protect you. I don't need protection from photographers, Dominic. You need protection from everything. He stopped pacing, turning to me with dark eyes. Someone broke into your apartment building last night. Did you know that? They didn't get to your floor, but they tried. I froze. What? I hired additional security. They're handling it. He moved closer, cupping my face. Please, move in with me. I can't sleep knowing you're across the city, vulnerable. I should have argued about independence, about maintaining my own space. But the truth was, I didn't want to be alone anymore either. The scrutiny was exhausting, and I craved the sanctuary of his arms. Okay, I whispered, but I want my own closet space. He kissed me, relief palpable in his touch. You can have the entire East Wing. Dominic, I own approximately 40 items of clothing. Then we'll buy more. That weekend, I packed my essentials while Dominic's security team supervised. It felt surreal, giving up my tiny studio for a penthouse that took up an entire floor. But when Dominic wrapped his arms around me that night, whispering how much he loved having me there, surrounded by his things, in his space, it felt like home. The peace lasted 3 days. I was leaving a client meeting in Midtown when the car pulled up. Not Dominic's usual Blacktown car. This one was gray, nondescript. The window rolled down. Miss Chen, a man in sunglasses. Mr. Sterling sent me to pick you up. There's been an incident at the office. My hand hesitated on the door handle. Something felt wrong. Which office? The main building or the satellite location? The man's jaw tightened. Main building, ma'am. Please, we should hurry. Dominic always texted when he changed my pickup arrangements. Always. And he never sent strangers. I knew all his drivers by name. I stepped back, reaching for my phone. I think I'll wait for my usual car. Thanks. The man's expression shifted, becoming hard. He reached out, grabbing my arm. Get in the car, Miss Chen. Now. Panic shot through me. I kicked his shin, hard, and screamed. Loud, piercing. Pedestrians turned. The man cursed, releasing me, and the car screeched away before I could get a license plate. I was shaking when Dominic arrived 20 minutes later, his face ashen, his hands trembling as he checked me for injuries. Rothschild, he said, his voice terrifyingly quiet. It has to be. He's out on bail, pending the harassment charges. He must have hired someone. I'm okay, I said, though my voice shook. I didn't get in. I knew something was wrong. Because you're smart. Because you're careful. He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. But I almost lost you. If you'd gotten in that car. I didn't. I'm here. I'm safe. Not safe enough. He pulled back, his eyes wild. I'm doubling security. You're not leaving the penthouse without me or a team of 4 guards. And you're not going back to work until… Excuse me. I pulled away. I'm not what? You're not going back to work. Not until Rothschild is behind bars and I know you're safe. You can't just bench me, Dominic. I have a job. Your job is to stay alive. He shouted, then immediately regretted it, his face crumpling. Evelyn, please. I can't. I can't function if something happens to you. Do you understand? You're the center of my entire world. Without you, there's nothing. I understood then what Alexandra had meant. The obsession wasn't romantic anymore. It was consuming him. And if I wasn't careful, it would consume me too. I'll work from home, I said carefully. For a week. Until Rothschild is apprehended. But Dominic, you can't lock me away. That's not love. That's prison. He flinched as if I'd struck him. I would never. I know you don't mean to. But you're terrified. And when you're terrified, you control. You possess. I touched his face gently. Trust me to be careful. Trust that I love you enough to protect myself. Don't smother me. He closed his eyes, breathing hard. When he opened them, some of the wildness had receded. 1 week. Work from home. And you wear the GPS tracker bracelet security gave you. That's reasonable. And Evelyn? His voice dropped to a whisper. If anything ever happened to you, I wouldn't survive it. I know that's not healthy. I know it's too much. But it's the truth. I kissed him softly. Nothing's going to happen to me. I promise. The week of working from the penthouse should have been relaxing. Instead, it was tense. Dominic was everywhere, hovering, watching, his anxiety a palpable force in the apartment. He installed new security systems. He vetted every delivery. He barely slept, sitting up at night to watch the city lights, his mind clearly racing. Meanwhile, the police investigation into the attempted abduction stalled. The car was stolen, the driver untraceable. Rothschild had an alibi. He'd been at a restaurant in the Hamptons. It wasn't him, I said Thursday evening, looking over the police report. Or if it was, he's smarter than we thought. Then who? I don't know. But we can't hide forever. Dominic was standing by the window, his silhouette dark against the city lights. I have a theory. Rothschild has allies on the board. People who resented me before, who see you as a weakness they can exploit. Like who? Victoria Ashford's father. Reginald Ashford. He's been quietly buying shares, building alliances. Victoria was always meant to be a corporate wife for me. Old money marrying new power. When I chose you, he turned to me. I humiliated them. Victoria. I remembered her at the gala, the possessive touch, the dismissive smile. She wouldn't. She would. And her father definitely would. Dominic crossed to me, taking my hands. There's a charity auction tomorrow night. The Ashfords will be there. I want to go. Show them we're not hiding. That we're not afraid. Dominic, we just established that someone might be trying to kidnap me. And we'll have security. 10 men. But I need to face them, Evelyn. I need to look them in the eye and show them that threatening you was the biggest mistake they ever made. I saw it then. The ruthless CEO who'd built an empire. The man who'd said, buy the company or bury it. He'd been gentle with me, loving, but that darkness was still there, coiled and waiting. Okay, I said, but we're careful. We stick to the plan. We stick to the plan. The auction was held at the Metropolitan Museum, a glittering affair of diamonds and designer gowns. I wore a silver dress that made me feel like armor, Dominic's hand a constant presence at the small of my back. We made our entrance together, heads turning, whispers following us like shadows. There, Dominic murmured, nodding toward the bar. Reginald Ashford stood with his daughter, Victoria, both of them resplendent in black tie attire. When they saw us, Victoria's face went white, then flushed with anger. Dominic guided me toward them, his posture relaxed but his grip on me possessive and firm. Reginald. Victoria. Dominic's voice was pleasant, sociable. Lovely to see you both. Dominic. Reginald's smile didn't reach his eyes. Brave of you to come out. Given the circumstances. Given that someone tried to abduct my girlfriend, you mean? Dominic's voice remained conversational, but I felt the tension vibrating through him. Yes, I thought it was important to show we're not intimidated by anyone. Victoria's hand tightened on her champagne flute. Perhaps you should be more careful, Miss Chen. These events can be so dangerous. Can they? I asked, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I find that the only dangerous thing in this room is the arrogance of people who think they can take what doesn't belong to them. Reginald's expression flickered. Careful, Miss Chen. You're in over your head. Am I? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Because I think you're the one who's afraid. You thought you could control Dominic through marriage. When that failed, you tried force. But you underestimated him. And you definitely underestimated me. For a moment, Reginald looked almost impressed. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and his smile turned genuine, cruel. How touching, he said. But I'm afraid your moment of triumph is premature. Check your email, Dominic. Dominic pulled out his phone, his expression shifting as he read. His face went gray. What is it? I asked. Internal audit, he said quietly. Someone's leaked documents suggesting I embezzled funds from the Hartwell merger. Used the money to pay off personal debts. Your girlfriend's debts, to be specific, Victoria said sweetly. The medical bills, the loans, all conveniently paid off right after you started your affair. My stomach dropped. That's not, Dominic didn't. It looks like he did, Reginald said. And with Rothschild testifying that Dominic has been unstable, obsessed, acting erratically, well, the board is calling an emergency session tomorrow morning to remove you as CEO, Dominic. Permanently. The room spun. This was the trap. Not the car, not the kidnapping attempt. This, framing Dominic, destroying his reputation, using me as the weapon to do it. Dominic's hand found mine, his grip crushing. But when he spoke, his voice was steel. You've made your play, he said. Now it's my turn. Tomorrow morning, Reginald. Be there. And bring your evidence. He turned, guiding me away, his stride unhurried despite the bombshell. Dominic, I said, my voice shaking. The payments. The bills you paid. It looks like. I know what it looks like. He pulled me into a quiet corner, his eyes burning. I know exactly what it looks like. And I know who set it up. But Evelyn, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Always. Good. He cupped my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone. Because tomorrow, everything changes. One way or another. The Sterling Industries boardroom had never felt so hostile. I sat in the gallery, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, watching as 12 board members arranged themselves around the mahogany table. Reginald Ashford sat at the far end, his expression smug. Next to him, a forensic accountant was setting up a projector, ready to display the evidence of Dominic's supposed embezzlement. Dominic stood at the head of the table, alone. His lawyer had advised against him speaking, but Dominic had refused to stay silent. He wore a charcoal suit, perfectly tailored, his face a mask of controlled fury. Let's begin, Catherine Mills said, her voice weary. She looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Mr. Ashford, you called this emergency session. Present your evidence. Thank you, Catherine. Reginald stood, straightening his cuffs. What we have here is a clear pattern of financial misconduct. Over the past 4 months, Dominic Sterling has diverted approximately $2.3 million from the Hartwell merger escrow account into personal accounts. Accounts used to pay off debts belonging to his companion, Evelyn Chen. The projector flashed to life, displaying bank statements. My mother's medical bills. My student loans. All paid from an account I hadn't known existed. These transfers occurred on dates coinciding with Miss Chen's move into Mr. Sterling's residence. The accountant droned. Further investigation shows that Mr. Sterling authorized these payments using his executive override codes, bypassing standard accounting protocols. Murmurs rippled through the room. I wanted to scream that it wasn't true, that Dominic would never steal, but I held my tongue. Dominic had asked me to trust him. Mr. Sterling? Catherine turned to him. Do you have a response? Dominic stepped forward, his posture relaxed, almost bored. The account in question isn't a personal account. It's a discretionary charity fund established by my father in 1998. I am the sole trustee. The funds used to assist Miss Chen's family were properly documented as charitable grants, authorized under the fund's mandate to support medical debt relief for employees and their families. Reginald smiled. Convenient. But the timing. The timing is irrelevant when the paperwork is in order. Dominic pulled a folder from his briefcase, tossing it onto the table. Notarized transfer requests. IRS filings. All above board, all legal. I didn't embezzle anything, Reginald. I used my own money, from a fund I control, to help someone I love. Catherine scanned the documents, her expression shifting from concern to relief. These appear to be in order. Mr. Ashford, did your investigation uncover these filings? Reginald's smile faltered. They were buried. Obscured. They were private, Dominic corrected, as is the nature of charitable giving. But since you've forced my hand, let's discuss your own financial irregularities, shall we? He clicked a remote. The projector changed to display a new set of documents. Emails, wire transfer records, phone logs. 6 weeks ago, you transferred $500,000 to an offshore account belonging to James Rothschild, Dominic said, his voice dropping to dangerous softness. 3 days later, Rothschild hired a private investigator to follow Miss Chen. 2 days after that, someone attempted to abduct her outside her former apartment building. The room went silent. Coincidence? Dominic clicked again. New emails appeared. Or perhaps these communications between you and Rothschild, discussing leverage against me and removing the distraction from my life, might clarify your intentions? Reginald's face went purple. You hacked my private communications. I didn't need to hack anything. Rothschild kept records. Insurance, he called it. Dominic's smile was predatory. He was always going to sell you out, Reginald. You were just too arrogant to see it. I stood up, unable to stay silent anymore. There's more. Every head turned to me. Dominic's eyes widened slightly. He hadn't known I would speak. Miss Chen, this isn't the time, Reginald began. Oh, I think it is. I walked to the front of the room, pulling out my phone. Yesterday, while Mr. Sterling was being briefed on this meeting, I received a visit from Victoria Ashford. I played the audio recording. Victoria's voice, clear and venomous. Asterisk, leave Dominic. Drop the investigation into my father, and we'll make the embezzlement charges disappear. Fight us, and we'll destroy him. Not just professionally, personally. We have evidence of his instability, his obsession with you. We'll have him committed, Evelyn. Is that what you want? Asterisk. The room erupted. Catherine Mills banged her gavel, or rather, her pen against the table, for order. This is outrageous, Reginald spluttered. No, Mr. Ashford. What's outrageous is that you thought you could use me as a weapon against the man I love. I met Dominic's eyes, saw the fierce pride there. Dominic Sterling is many things. He's intense. He's demanding. He's possessive to a fault. But he is honest. He is loyal. And he has built this company into something extraordinary through sheer force of will and integrity. I turned to the board. You want to remove him? Fine. But do it because he's bad for business, not because of manufactured scandals and personal vendettas. Look at the numbers. Look at the merger he just closed. Look at the stock price. Up 12% since the Hartwell deal was announced. That's the man you're considering firing. I took a deep breath. And if you do fire him, I'll walk too. And I know where every body is buried in this company. I know which clients will follow him, which employees will resign, which deals will fall through without his leadership. Are you blackmailing the board, Miss Chen? Catherine asked, but there was amusement in her voice. I'm stating facts. I lifted my chin. I'm also stating that I love Dominic Sterling. Not because he's powerful, but because he's good. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve to share a boardroom with him. Dominic moved to my side, taking my hand. His grip was trembling slightly. Well, Catherine said, looking around the table, I think we've heard enough. All those in favor of terminating Dominic Sterling's employment, on the basis of the evidence presented? Reginald raised his hand. 2 others followed, then stopped, looking around. No one else moved. All those opposed. 9 hands went up, including Catherine's. Motion denied. Catherine slammed her pen down. Mr. Ashford, I suggest you resign from this board immediately, or we will begin proceedings to remove you for cause. And someone call security. I believe the police will want to speak with Mr. Ashford regarding conspiracy to kidnap and corporate fraud. As security escorted a sputtering Reginald from the room, Dominic pulled me into his arms, heedless of the audience. You were magnificent, he whispered against my hair. You built the case, I whispered back. I just delivered the closing argument. I love you, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I love you, and I'm never letting you go. Good, I said, because I wasn't planning on going anywhere. The fallout took weeks to settle. Reginald Ashford was arrested, along with his daughter Victoria, charged with conspiracy, attempted kidnapping, and securities fraud. Rothschild, facing additional charges, turned state's evidence, ensuring the Ashfords would spend significant time in prison. The board offered Dominic a new 5-year contract with expanded powers. He accepted, but with one condition. I was promoted to chief of staff, with a seat on the executive team and a mandate to overhaul the company's ethics and compliance protocols. You don't have to do this because of me, I told him when he proposed the promotion. I don't want nepotism. It's not nepotism. It's recognition. He sat on the edge of his desk, our desk now, since I'd moved into the larger office next to his. You saved my company, Evelyn. You stood up to a board of billionaires and defended me. You're the most capable person I've ever met. This position should have been yours months ago. And the relationship? How do we navigate being colleagues and lovers? He smirked, that devastating smile that still made my heart race. Carefully, publicly, with full disclosure and boundaries. He pulled me between his legs, his hands resting on my hips. I don't want to hide anymore. I want everyone to know that you're not just my obsession, Evelyn. You're my partner, my equal. I kissed him soft and slow. You're equal. Well, he grinned against my lips. Maybe I still have a slight edge in the possessiveness department. Only slight. Minuscule. We were interrupted by a knock. Margaret poked her head in, smiling at the sight of us. Mr. Sterling, Miss Chen. Sorry, Miss Chen, your 3 o'clock is here. And Mrs. Sterling is online too. She says it's urgent. Dominic sighed. My mother. Go take the call. I'll handle the meeting. I straightened his tie. See? Partners. He caught my hand, pressing a kiss to my palm. Partners. The meeting was with the new Hartwell leadership team, integrating their operations into Sterling Industries. I handled it confidently, no longer the nervous assistant from the elevator, but a woman who knew her worth. When I returned to my office, there was a gift box on my desk. Black velvet, small. My heart skipped. Inside was a key, not to the penthouse, but to a house. A brownstone in Brooklyn, the address familiar. It was the street I'd mentioned once, months ago, saying I loved the trees there. A note in Dominic's elegant handwriting. Asterisk for when you need space that's yours. But I'm hoping you'll let me visit. Often. Permanently, if you'll have me. Asterisk. I was staring at the key when he appeared in the doorway, holding flowers, not roses, but peonies, my favorite. Too soon? He asked, uncharacteristically nervous. I know we haven't talked about. Yes, I said. Yes, it's too soon. Or yes. Yes to everything. To the house. To you. To whatever comes next. I crossed to him, taking his hand. But Dominic? I don't want separate spaces. I want to build something together. He exhaled, the tension leaving his shoulders. Then marry me. It wasn't a question. It was a statement of intent, fierce and absolute. But in his eyes, I saw the vulnerability, the hope, the fear of rejection. Is that a proposal? It's a demand. A plea. A promise. He cupped my face. Marry me, Evelyn. Be my wife. Let me spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of your love, your strength, your brilliance. I thought of the journey, the interview, the stolen moments, the public scandal, the threats. We'd survived it all. Not because he possessed me, but because we chose each other, again and again. Yes, I said. I'll marry you. He kissed me then, deep and claiming, the way he had that first night on the terrace. But this time, when he pulled back, he was smiling, truly smiling, with a joy I'd never seen before. I love you, he said. I love you too. Even when you're impossible. Especially then, he agreed. The wedding was small, intimate, nothing like the galas and corporate events we'd grown accustomed to. We married in the garden of Eleanor Sterling's Connecticut estate, in spring, when the cherry blossoms were falling like snow. Just family. Eleanor, Alexandra, who'd actually smiled at me, Sebastian, and my mother, healthy and beaming in a lavender dress. Dominic wore a navy suit, not a tuxedo, and when he saw me walking toward him in a simple silk gown, his eyes glistened. You look. His voice broke. Mine. Yours, I agreed, taking his hands. Always. The vows were traditional, but the meaning was ours. To have and to hold. To love and to cherish. To support each other's ambitions. To respect each other's boundaries. To build a life that was more than the sum of its parts. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, Dominic kissed me with a tenderness that belied his usual intensity. Mrs. Sterling, he whispered. Ms. Chen Sterling, I corrected gently. I want to keep part of myself, Dominic, even as I give you everything. Fair enough. He grinned. As long as I get to keep you. You get to keep me. 1 year later, the Sterling Industries annual gala was being held at the Met, just like the first one we'd attended together. But tonight, I stood at Dominic's side not as his assistant, not as his secret, but as his wife and his chief of staff. The company had flourished. Our ethics initiative had become an industry standard. The Ashford scandal was a distant memory, a cautionary tale of what happened when greed overpowered integrity. Mrs. Sterling? A junior executive approached, nervous but determined. I wanted to thank you for the mentorship program. I got promoted last week. Congratulations, I said warmly. You earned it. As he walked away, Dominic's hand found the small of my back. You're good at this, he said. The inspiring leader thing. I learned from the best. I leaned into his touch. Though I still think you should let me win our next negotiation. Never. He kissed my temple. I like you fierce and fighting. Good. Because I'm pregnant. The world stopped. Dominic turned to me, his expression blank with shock. What? I'm pregnant. 3 months. I was going to tell you tonight, after the gala. But you look so serious, and I couldn't wait. He stared at me, storm gray eyes wide, then swept me into his arms, lifting me off my feet right there in the middle of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Put me down. I laughed, hitting his shoulder. People are staring. Let them stare. He set me down gently, his hands framing my face, his expression awed and terrified and utterly in love. A baby. Our baby. Are you happy? Evelyn. His forehead rested against mine. I'm overwhelmed. I'm terrified. I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life. He kissed me, soft and reverent. Thank you. For this. For us. For everything. Thank you for not giving up on me. On us. I touched his face. For making me your obsession, and then making me your partner. Always. He pulled me close, his hand protectively over my stomach. My only obsession. My only love. My forever. As the music swelled around us, as the city glittered beyond the windows, I knew that this was only the beginning. Not a fairy tale ending, but a real beginning, messy, passionate, intense, and absolutely ours. Dominic Sterling had been a legend when I met him. But the man he became, with me, for me, because of me, was so much more than a CEO, more than a billionaire, more than a name. He was mine, and I was his. And together, we were everything. Thank you so much for watching my story. I truly appreciate your time, support, and attention. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Your support means a lot to me, and I'll see you in the next video.